Today I want to talk about something interesting. Yesterday I went to a relic ceremony in a Catholic church. What it basically means is I'm gonna do a summary, so for those who don't know the Catholic tradition can actually get on board with what I'm saying quickly enough. Okay, so let's start with that. Within the Catholic Church, they have a belief that relics, which is items and body parts of saints appointed by the church, saints are in this category people who did great feats of service in the name of religion, be it ultimately dedication to the faith or dedication of acts of service to the community in the service of the church, yada yada yada, right? So there can be anyone from a generic person to someone doing medical stuff to a pope or whatever. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is this. There was one yesterday, which was actually the showcasing of a relic from a saint who was made a saint in 1925 by Pope Pius X. I think Pope Pius X. That's what is most commonly said. The relic itself was I didn't take pictures, of course, because we didn't have time to do that because we had to. I was only retaining the relic service for curiosity, and then we were rushing home to watch Mardi Gras because family said something about the parade. We were actually in the parade itself, not watching it, so we didn't know what it was on about, so we had to observe ourselves what they were on about. That's why we couldn't stay behind and see the relic and take pictures of it, whatever. Anyway, I can describe it for you. The base of a chalice, then a circular top with a interior thing, all gold. Basically speaking, it's a case in point where the relic was seen as a supernatural object by the bishop. Oh yes, the attendants. There was 8 priests, 1 master of ceremony which accompanied the bishop, 8 altar servers, 1 relic, 1 incense thing. That's the thing with the chain and where they do like these spreading of incense. There's then there's the standard altar server stuff of the 2 candles on each side of the 1 large cross. That's the general thing. It was more formalistic and ceremonial of a ceremony, and that's why, as a direct result, it is more fancy. There's a lot more movements and elaborations to it. Let's move on to the next part, which is focusing on the dynamics at the standard mass / unveiling of the relic. As mentioned, there was 8 priests, 1 bishop, and 1 master of ceremony. All of those people were all male, because under the Catholic tradition, only men can be of those ranks. There was more gender diversity in terms of the altar servers and other roles within the church itself. Let's move on to a basic history of it. The saint itself. The the thing itself is part of the quote-unquote 2025 Jubilee year, with the church being the shrine of hope for priests and vocations. Basically, parish priests. So let's go over this, shall we then? So the saint, which is Saint John Mary Vianney, was born in 1786 and died in 1859. He was recognized in 1905 and he was canonized in 1925. Basically speaking, there was a gap between there and then, yada yada yada, right? What was he known for? Well, as a saint, he was known for a lot of things, stuff like dedication to church, dedication to priesthood, with one of his one website giving him feats of doing confessions up to 16 hours a day, and a quote unquote battle with the devil for 35 years. Basically. So basically, some people describe him like a spiritual warrior, and there's other sources which say his body never decayed and stuff like that. Basically, they are attributing supernatural elements to him. Let's begin with. Let's continue with this one. What I was saying about the devil. This is only one thing. There's other things which say different things about it, but this is something which is the most succinct of a lot of them. Yeah. Here we go. Vianney is well known for his encounters with Satan. For 35 years, Satan threw everything he had against the holy priest, who would hear confessions for 16 hours a day. At night, Vianney would hear taunts, howling voices, evil singing or shouting. He was physically dragged from his bed, and one night in his sleep caught on fire. His torment would prevent him from having much sleep, but it did not deter him from living a life of holiness. His ability to read souls and teach the profound truths of the gospel brought him a lot of attention. Men and women would flock to his parish from miles around. However, Vianney was a very humble man and never sought any reward or respect from the people. There was a story of a neighboring priest who was jealous of Vianney's fame and started a petition to remove him from us because of his lack of studies. Support. But the text continued. But he remarked later that a demon is very cunning. But he is not strong, making a sign across upon him to flight. When I made a sign across, he departed. So, become accustomed to encounters, and he even gave a nickname to the devil, calling him the clapping. Anyway, so I'm sure you can get the memo. Back to the Mass itself. The Mass itself was a unique experience to some degree, because much of the dynamics around the Mass and themes was talking about immortality in death. For those not accustomed to Catholic masses, there starts with the normally sole priest with the altar servers coming in with the cross and the 2 candles. In this case, it came in with the first one priest, then normal, and then there was a whole bunch of other priests behind that. then having the bishop with his master of ceremonies. The relic was not with them in the proceeding coming down. The relic was presented later. What happened here is the mass started normally. A regular song, the choir sang, and then what happened as a direct result was normal proceeding, ordinary time mass. That's just Catholic talk, so if you don't really understand that, that's whatever. It just means a bog standard regular mass, at least initially. The only core difference is, though, that much of the people who came into it, the seating arrangements was different. Because normally, altar servers sit split sidings. But in this situation, it was a case in which the priests sat on the right, I think, from my direction, and the altar servers sat on the left. Normally, you normally have one candle each side of the pillars, but in this case, both candles were put on the side of the altar servers. So there was only really one senior altar server on the side with the priests. What that basically therefore means is that at the end of the day, I'm sure you can get the image. The bishop in the center, the master of ceremonies sitting near the bishop, priests on the right, altar servers on the left, one senior altar server with the priests. Moving on, the other thing that's happened with it was a case where the ceremony was normal up to communion to the most part. There was a little bit of an extension. Normally masses last around 30 to 40 minutes. This extended more into like the hour to an hour and a half range because there was extra speeches and extra focus on the themes of defeat over death. To explain the defeat over death mindset within the Catholic Church, it is an ideology where by going into the kingdom of heaven, you defeat death and mortality, becoming immortal in heaven. Basically, that's that sort of idea. It's more complex than that, obviously, but I'm summarizing it here so I don't have your time completely subsumed here. I'm sure you can go look into the Catholic doctrine yourself. I'm sure if you are an avid listener of my channel, you will be able to do that. In any case, the congregation was far more polite and much more with it than normal. They were far kinder, far more empathic, far more on good behaviour because the bishop was there. What that basically means here is that because I was there for a long time before attending this, I knew how a lot of them turned up as. A lot of them were complete hypocrites, yet the second it comes down to this, it's really not a case where they act that way normally. They acted that way with the mass, but that's not the normal status quo. They were acting super polite because there was multiple priests there and a bishop there, but that's about it, right? In any case, though, let's keep moving and keep succinct. the what happened was, quite simply put, the bells weren't done, but instead it was incense done. The standard routine of praying, sitting, praying, standing was maintained compared to regular masses. And the difference, I guess, here will be that it was at the third way point that a family brought the relic up. The bishop received the relic, and then what happened was that then all of the priests went with the bishop to the location, at least the first location of the relic, which was in front of everybody. So then the bishop moved. Sorry. The family put the relic on the stand with some flowers underneath it. Sorry, the family did that already. Just the bishop and the priests moved around, said some stuff, yada yada yada, did some ceremonies, did some ceremonial stuff. Then picked up the relic again, moved it to a side part of the church, where it would be a place of veneration. What happened after that was the case of then there was another gospel thing where they talk about something from the Bible, talking about again a second theme of the feet of death logic. And then there was the praying for the sick and dead segment, which is normal. And then what happened that was different from masses regularly in this case was this. It was a case where the bishop himself did a more prolonged speech talking about the supernatural powers and abilities of the saints' bodies and relics, talking about an analogy of how a criminal robbing the grave got transformed by touching the bones of a saint or something like that, and so on. What that basically therefore means is that the whole point was said there, at least subtly initially, about immortality and death and following the path line of the saint. And then, towards the end of the speech, it was specifically said by the bishop, immortality in death. So it was no random suspicion of what they was thinking of saying, but they said it openly and clearly, that immortality and death, yada yada yada. Next, the next part of this happened when there was the dynamics around. After that, then the bread and wine was done per standard, with the only real difference being, instead of one priest doing the hand movement posture, which is basically receiving, putting a hand out as if reaching out to God, about receiving the bread and blood of Jesus, yada yada yada. Then, as a director was then there was the standard altar server stuff, holding the book, altar servers washing the hands of the priest, so on. Altar servers holding the books for the priests as per standard, nothing to note there necessarily. And then there was another short speech by the bishop talking about something else entirely. I actually forgot what that one was about. Basically, and then the bishop said, remember, Ash Wednesday is coming up, yada yada yada, and yeah, that was basically that. It was basically the whole idea of the bishop saying that relics are supernatural. What do you think about this? Be honest with your thoughts. I don't really care if you are pro or against the principle. I am interested in your thoughts, genuinely.